Now that we have our loom and our equipment all gathered, we're going to warp up the miniature loom. So first of all, decide how long you want it. Put the pins in below the springs, then compress the top bar and put the pegs in above the top bar. These will be removed after we finish the warping process. So then decide how wide you want it. I just kind of lay my warp yarn in and think, yeah, about that wide's good. So then first of all, you want to tie a square knot and leave this a couple inches from the peg bars because we're going to be removing this after we finish the warping process. Oops. So then go up to the top, go around the peg bar, and come down to the bottom, and you're going to have one warp per slot. So that means you're going to go around every other peg. Now if you put your finger in front of the peg bar, it'll keep it from falling off. So then you're just going to go up and down, one warp per slot. And it doesn't matter whether you warp real tight or real loose, just make sure you're consistent. I just kind of keep a firm tension on my warp and then just go up and down around the pins so that I have one slot per, or one warp per slot. And you want to do this all the way across until you get it as wide as you want. Okay, when you get it as wide as you want, you're going to tie another square knot at the opposite end. Now by starting at the bottom and ending at the top, I'm going to have an odd number of warps. If you want an even number of warps, start and end at the same, to either top or bottom. Doesn't matter which. Okay, now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to put the end twining on. And this twining becomes a permanent part of the rug. And for that I use a 2-ply wool. So first of all, you're going to fold it in half. Make sure you have at least as wide as the loom is. Fold it in half, tie an overhand knot. And this overhand knot, that becomes the tassel that stays on the end of the rug. Then you're going to go under the first of that warp pair, and that knotted beginning is going to be considered a warp pair. So you're going to go under that first of the warp pair and pull it back to the outside so it's sitting on the outside of the peg bars. Drop that one, take the other cord and go under the first of the next pair. You will see they fall in pairs as they go around the pins. So you're going to go under the first of that pair and pull your cord back through the same slot as the warp so it's lying on the outside of the pins. So you just pull both ends of it through the same slot as the warp so it's lying on the outside of the pins. So you're going under every other warp. So you're going to do this all the way across. When you reach the opposite end, you're going to tie another overhand knot and pull that knot up close to the peg bars. So that's real close to those peg bars. And you can trim that off if it's way too long. Now, that knot that we began the warp with, untie that. And you're going to pull it through the same slot as the first warp. I like to pull it a little bit tight, so your outside warp is tighter than the others. And then you're going to tie another square knot, but this time you're going to pull that square knot back through to the outside of the peg bar. So that knot is sitting on the outside of the peg bar. So then when you finish your weaving, you will just have this one little end to tuck in. Put it on a needle and run it up through the same warp. Now you're going to repeat this same process on the opposite end. If you are having problems figuring out which warp to go under with the twining cord, you can actually pick up those warps with a batten. So you would go over and under all the way across, making sure you're picking up the first of the warp pair. And remember, the warp pair is the way the warp goes around that pin, how it falls as a pair. So just pick up every other warp. And remember that knot is considered a warp pair. So you would go under the first of the pair, drop that, go under the next one, move your batten each time. So again, you're going to twine all the way across till you get to the opposite end, going under that first of the warp pair and pulling your twining cord through that same slot as the warp to the outside of the peg bar. Okay, so do this all the way across the end. So again, when you reach the end of your warp, you're going to tie another overhand knot, which is just around and through. Pull that up again close to your peg bars. Trim it off if you need. And then again, you're going to retie your knot, undo it, pull it through that same slot as the last warp, pull it good and tight, and tie another square knot and yank it through to the outside of the peg bars. Make sure it lies on the outside of the peg bars. Sometimes you have to give it a little bit of help. Okay, now we have our warp on, we have our twining cord on. Now we can remove the top pins, and the springs will put the tension on our warp for you. Now, we need to put the shed stick in, so you want to go under, over, all the way across. Under, over, all the way across. So put the smaller of your two sticks in. Push it up to the top of your weaving, and this just maintains that shed while you're weaving, so you don't have to open it manually each time. So now we're ready to put string heddles on. So join us for the next video, which will be how to put string heddles on. Thanks for watching.